So you're trying to build your first Masters Challenge format deck and you don't know where to get started because there is a lot of Pokemon cards that exist and it's hard to know which ones are going to work in the format, what is going to actually help you get your board state off the ground. This is basically kind of a quick video where I'm just going to run through some of the cards that I keep finding myself coming back to when it comes to considering what kind of stuff needs to go into a deck, what's going to help me with the kind of consistency that I need. I'm just going to kind of run through some staples. Now, none of this is color specific. All of this, some of it is a little bit color specific, but a lot of this is going to be like kind of general as possible, like to fit as many decks as possible. That's kind of the idea. But look, if you don't know what the Masters Challenge format is, check out some of the other videos on the channel. I've got a whole bunch of deck building. I've got like a full rules documenting, explaining it. That's going to be in the description. Check out all that kind of stuff because this is a very fun format. I'm really looking forward to seeing more people pick it up and check it out. But as you can see on the screen, I've got a big long list of stuff. This is already half a deck if you wanted to just copy the whole thing one for one. But I kind of want to run through why these cards are good, why I consider them, why they kind of work for this format. The main thing that is different between MCF and most other PTCG formats is that this is a multiplayer format. The idea is to be playing in pods of 4, and so some of the rules are going to be slightly different when it comes to how the game works. The main one is you can attack on your first turn, and you can play a supporter on your first turn, even if you're going first. But none of your attacks will deal damage or have any effects on your opponent's turn until everyone has had their first turn. That means that we can play a supporter always on our first turn to help us set up, and having some of these search your deck for things is really important and can really help you get the ball rolling. That's why we've got Apricot Maker. That's why we've got Ball Guy. These are both very good, and you'll see Ball Guy in GLC quite a lot. But basically, you search your deck for a number of item cards. Apricot Maker is 2, Ball Guy is 3, and you search your deck for a number of item cards with the word ball in their name. And as you can see at the top, I have a whole bunch grouped here. They're the ones that I think are good. Now, when building a deck, to increase the consistency that you have, the goal is to have a bunch of things that perform very similar roles. So Apricot Maker getting only 2, if you have no other supporter in your hand on your first turn, playing this still pretty good. Still gonna help you get your stuff started. Is Ball Guy better? Yes. Can they both go on the same deck? Yes. Because you can't play more than one copy of the same card, you are going to be looking for different things that are going to help you accomplish the same goal. So this is our 2 ball search cards, and let's have a look at some of the Pokeball type cards that we have to choose from. The first one I think is the best one, is Luxury Ball. So you search your deck for a Pokemon that is not a level X. That's it. There's not actually very many level X Pokemon that are still good and like worth playing. Because new and scarier things have just been printed since then, really. And you can't play Luxury Ball if there's a Luxury Ball in your discard pile already. That's never going to happen because you can only ever have 1 copy of each card in your deck. So this is just literally a Master Ball without any restrictions, which is very good. And so I think this card is going to be kind of a staple for nearly every deck. Heavy Ball is also a very important one. Sorry, Hisuian Heavy Ball, because we do have both that and Heavy Ball. Hisuian Heavy Ball, because it lets you get a card out of your prize cards, and because this is a format that plays 8 prize cards instead of 6, because you have the larger deck size, and you kind of want the game to go for a little bit longer. This is a very good card to have, because often things that you need will be in there, and if the Heavy Ball isn't good enough, we have Gladion as well. Because the Hisuian Heavy Ball specifies basic, Gladion just says any card. It's good to have multiples of the same kind of thing. Next is Nest Ball. We just go and get a basic one. And then a Quick Ball is kind of the same, except you have to discard a card. Ultra Ball gets you anything, but you have to discard 2 cards. You can see how it's different from Luxury Ball. has a much heavier cost. Cherish Ball, which lets you get a Pokemon GX. Now, Pokemon GX are still good. Like, I know none of them are in standard anymore, but a lot of them are still good enough to play. There is Zorok GX, which has a draw card ability. There's Tapu Lele GX, which does the same thing that Lumineon V does, where you can search your deck for a supporter. A lot of those cards are still very playable, and so I think Cherish Ball is still very good. We have Netball, where you can get a basic grass Pokemon or an energy. That's kind of insane. There's also a bug catching net, which I haven't put on this because it's specifically grass, but this is our list of balls. We have Level Ball, which is 90 HP or less. This is great for getting an evolutionary chain started. Dive Ball, which is water type Pokemon. Feather Ball, which is something with no retreat cost. Heavy Ball is something with a lot of retreat cost. Master Ball is anything, however, it is your ace spec. And picking your ace spec is going to be very important. I tend to lean towards Computer Search because it lets you get any card. But I think Master Ball is just as good because it depends on what your priority is, right? Like, is setting up the Pokemon the thing that is the challenge that your deck needs to overcome, then maybe Master Ball is the better choice. We have Timer Ball, which, you know, can fail and do nothing, which would suck, but most of the time will be the same as an evolutionary instance where you just go and get a non-basic Pokemon put in your hand. We have Fast Ball. This is a kind of a goofy one, but you reveal cards until you reveal a non-basic Pokemon and then put that card in your hand. You don't have a lot of control on what it's going to be, but it can't miss, like something like a Great Ball. And look, that's all I have to say about it. It's just fine. But all these things are stuff that you could search out with the Ball Guy, with the Apricot Maker, and they're not terrible. Buddy Poffin, which is very common in Standard right now. Get 2 basic Pokemon with the 70 HP or less. This is great for helping you set up an evolutionary chain. Evo Incense I mentioned. Fog Crystal is color specific, but gets you a basic Psychic Pokemon. Mysterious Treasure is the same. There is going to be a lot of these kinds of cards that are much more specific to a color that I've not gone and discovered yet, I guess. Pretty much everything on this list I have saved to my favorites tab for when I'm building a deck to go through and check it out, which is kind of why I'm making the video. I'm like, look, this is where I'm starting every time I'm building a deck. Here's some ideas that you should use to consider the same. We have Pokemon Communication. This is a good one if you have a deck that relies on evolutionary lines. Because the bench space is limited, you can't just go crazy and keep playing all these new basics to start all these new evolutionary lines. So you're going to have stuff that you can't play. There's no space for it. There's no, basic ready for it or whatever. Where you can get rid of that, you can go and get something that will evolve from one of your Pokemon, which is pretty good. And then Capturing Arm, which is another one that's really popping off in Standard at the moment, which just gets you a Pokemon, but you don't get to choose if it's basic or evolutionary, and you hope for the best. Next is our supporter list. Now, supporters are a bit harder because a lot of the better ones are going to be more specific to what you're doing. All of these ones are just very good at searching for a thing. Scott gets you 3 cards that are supporters or stadiums. Right now, I actually really rate being able to search for a stadium. 1, to bump a stadium and play. But like searching for a supporter, you can't play the supporter immediately. You have to play it next turn. But also there's a lot of strong stadiums that can do stuff. Like there's no banned stadiums currently. So there's a lot of goofy stuff that you can be searching up and playing. You could just get straight up 3 stadiums. So it's got pretty good. Relic Hunter. Exactly the same thing, but it's 2 instead of 3. This is the same Ball Guy Apricot Maker problem. Oracle. Search any 2 cards from your deck and put them on top, which is the same as Cypher Maniac's Code Breaking. So being able to have 2 copies of the same card effect in the deck, pretty good. Chorus's Tenacity is actually insane because you can get an energy, not a basic one, any kind of energy, and a stadium. And so there's a line with Chorus's Tenacity that I really like, where you play Chorus, you go and get Town Store, you go and get an energy. Town Store will get you TM Evolution, and then you have TM Evolution set up and ready to go off, 1 card in hand. That's pretty good. And then we have a couple of generic search your deck for anything on Raihan, Rosa, Red's Challenge, Teammates. There should be twins here. Also, let me add twins. Twins is another good one. Every single one of them specify that you have to have had a Pokemon knocked out last turn, except for twins, which just cares if somebody else has more prize cards than you. So if you knock out one of your own things, say Dusclops, then you can use twins because somebody else will have more prizes than you, which makes it pretty valuable. So I don't know how that made it not on the list. We also have Guzma and Hala, which is kind of insane. So you search your deck for a stadium. If you discard 2 additional cards, you also get a tool and a special energy. Now, the reason why Arceus, Dialga, Palkia got banned is because off just Guzma and Hala, you could go and get a stadium like, what's it called? Stormy Mountain, which gets any basic dragon type Pokemon. And you could get a tool, which would give you, say, Floatstone, give you free retreat into the ADP that you just searched for, and a special energy, which could get you double dragon energy so that you could attack and use Altered Creation GX immediately on your first turn nearly every game if you could find this supporter, which is kind of insane. And instead of banning Guzman Hala, a good card, we've banned ADP, an insane card. But just, to give you an idea of the kind of power level of some of the stuff that we're playing with. Forest Steel Stone is just another one of those. Search your deck for anything. I also rate Arven here. Maybe we should add Arven to this list. Arven is very good also because in the same way that Colress can set up a TM Evo on the first turn, so can Arven, except you'll have to search for an item that searches for an energy if you don't have an energy already, and then he will search for the TM Evo. But Arven is very good too. We also have Sonia, who at first I was kind of dismissive of, but it's kind of grown on me, where you get either 2 basic Pokemon or 2 basic energy cards. So the versatility is really good here. Being able to get 2 basic Pokemon early on when you're trying to set up your board state is pretty good. But late getting 2 basic energy to help set up the guys that you have in play already, also pretty good. We have Teammates, which is another one of the search cards, and then Skylar, which is just like get anything. Get any trainer card. Which is also pretty good. Then our next kind of set. Our next set is things that help us evolve things. Possibly Rare Candy should go here also, but if you're playing Pokemon Breeder, you're playing Rare Candy. I don't know that Rare Candy is that special and different or specific to any other particular deck. It's just an okay card. But why these are here is because they are much better, because they search your deck for something that evolves from one of your guys. Evo Soda lets you evolve from one of your Pokemon by searching from your deck and putting it into play directly. We also have Salvatore for this, but Salvatore's restriction of it having an ability sucks real bad. So he's not made the list. I think he's like good in this category, but not good if you're relying on setting up to getting a strong ability Pokemon. Now, Boost Shake is similar, but the difference is you can use Boost Shake on your first turn and on a Pokemon that was just played. Very good. Downside, it ends your turn at the resolution of the ability. So on your very first turn, or on a turn when you know you're not going to attack, Boost Shake kind of good. Help you, finish the turn by setting up a thing. It's not terrible. Pokemon Breeder's Nurturing is just basically 2 Evo Soda. Like, that's pretty great. And then Wally is basically Boost Shake, but doesn't end your turn. Because you can use it during your first turn, or on a Pokemon that was put into play this turn. Which is kind of insane. So you might be getting a vibe that anything that says search your deck for something is strong, and that's kind of where you should be starting, I guess. Then we also have Pokemon Breeder, which is basically Rare Candy, but a supporter. And has the wrong text. That's kind of funny. Anyway, then we have the discard to get a thing category, which is item finder to get a trainer card from your discard pile, junk arm, discard 2 cards to get a trainer card from your discard pile. They are the same. Button computer search, which is discard 2 cards, search your deck for anything, which is what Red's challenge does. But then we also have some energy search in the earthen vessel, which is good for everything. I have capacious bucket here just because I favorited it. But obviously it's specific to water, energy, professor's letter, which is any 2 basic, TM Evo, which I think is very good. Anything that's search your guys and evolve them is very good. But those of you that mostly play standard will not know about the other TM Evo. So when you attach it, it stays on there forever, unlike TM Evo, which falls off at the end of your turn. But it only evolves 1 Pokemon, not 2. But it doesn't cost an energy to activate. So having both of them in your deck, I think, is a good move. Then we have Scoop Up and Scoop Up Net, because bench space is so like 5. It's not a big number, and there's a lot of really strong ability Pokemon that are just like when you play me onto the bench, and then they just sit there and do nothing for a long time after that, which is not great. But being able to clear them away is pretty great. We have VS Seeker, where you're basically searching your discard pile instead of your deck for a supporter, which is pretty good. And then we have our stadiums, Town Store, Artisan, Brooklet Hill, which is Artisan but for water and fighting, and Stormy Mountain, but the same, Lightning and Dragon. I know there is a couple of other good stadiums out there, like Turffield Stadium that does search for Pokemon, or even Mesa Goza, but I haven't found myself using that many good stadiums. Most of the decks that I played just play Artisan, Town Store. I know there is a lot of other good ones, but I did want to leave something for you to all explore. This is just the stuff that I find myself coming back to and looking at whenever I'm building a deck, because most of these things show up in a lot of the decks that I've built. And a lot of people that have been asking me, that have been looking at building decks, like, look, where do I start? There's so many odd cards I've never heard of. This is a good place to start. Have a look, see what's going on, and try and get you halfway, maybe, to your first MCF deck, which, you know, I'm excited about. I think it's a fun format. I think more people should be trying it out and trying to play it. And hopefully this can help you take those first few steps so you can check it out. And then, if you are interested, I do have a bunch of links in the description with the rules document helping you pick out your first partner Pokemon. But also on the channel, we just have a bunch of deck building explanations. I'm covering stuff this kind of weekly, talking about what's going on, what's changed, and then that's kind of it. So hopefully I'll see you around.